freeze, sucker! And get your hands up and turn slowly. I'm warning you. In 1983, I was the starting pitcher in the Little League World Series. I struck out 16 Taiwanese All-Stars. To this day, the people of Asia call me Song Luk Dong, which means big black man, pretending to be 12.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, we got Jackie Legs in the house tonight, Mr. James O'Reilly.
Is that the guy from Canarsie? Is that guy?
Yeah, the guy from
What's he got
Canarsie,
to
dude.
do with this?
He is involved with all sorts of schemes, my friend. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters, and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube, leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching Kangaroo Jack.
That we are.
Unfortunately, question mark.
How dare you, Jimbo? We are in our favorite time. It's called the January Classic for a reason. We are watching 2003's family comedy, Kangaroo Jack, directed by David McNally, written by Steve Bing and Scott Rosenberg, and starring Jerry O'Connell and Anthony Anderson. No, I'm very excited for us to be diving into this one, Jim, because I haven't watched this one probably since I saw it in theaters, and this was a first time watch for you. So I can't wait to see what kind of nonsense we get up to when we really start to dive into this bad boy.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's the first time watch, so I'd never seen it before. Um, I remember really not being interested in seeing it when it came out. That hasn't changed since then. And then, but here I am watching it. So good times.
Well, to really build up this movie, we've got our DVD cover. There's a lot going on in this DVD cover.
I bet.
To start off on the front end, we got Fox TV showing up again. We haven't seen them since 8 Crazy Nights, but Fox TV showing up again in action comedy for the entire family.
Sure, yeah.
Not only that, this one has got a sticker on the front too, Jim. It's an award winner from the Film Advisory Board for an award of excellence.
The Film Advisory Board. That
Like,
sounds made up.
I was just gonna say,
that's
like,
real.
that sounds like the fakest thing I've ever heard. And then we turn to our back, one last one before we get to our log line. We got Neil Rosen from New York One News going, kids will have a hopping good time.
Yeah. New York One News, by the way, owned by Fox. It's a
Amazing.
local Australian affiliate owned by Fox.
Absolutely amazing. Well, they had glowing reviews for this movie. But we turn our attention here to our log line on the back, and it reads, he put the money in his jacket, in the jacket on a kangaroo, and now it's gone. The chase is on, and so is the fun when two Brooklyn buddies sent to Australia to deliver 50 G's cross paths with Kangaroo Jack, a prankster of a roo who sprints off with the loot. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer brings his adrenaline rush style to this family crowd pleaser. What?
Yeah, I mean,
What?
again, that describes the movie, and it brings up something I really wanted to talk about, which is what the hell was Jerry Bruckheimer doing involved in this movie? The classic forest, road, and lightning, and I was like, I was blown away. I couldn't believe that Jerry Bruckheimer made Kangaroo Jack.
Did you notice when they were doing his credit thing too? They put the kangaroo in it for this one also.
Yeah, of course I caught that. Yeah.
Absolutely. But Kangaroo Jack is in this movie for maybe like 5 minutes total, right? Like,
Okay, so I found a YouTube video, and it
so what?
was Kangaroo Jack, but only scenes when he was on screen. It was 7.5 minutes long.
Amazing. All right, so we got 7.5 minutes confirmed. How many pranks does he do in that 7.5 minutes, Jim?
I mean, I don't think he really does any pranks per se.
That's what I'm saying. Like this entire movie is like two bumbling idiots fuck up trying to get the money back, and the kangaroo just kind of like makes kangaroo faces and then runs off.
Yeah, the kangaroo just kind of is a kangaroo. That's his whole shtick. Yeah.
Like like the kangaroo does dick this entire movie. And I also
He
kind of
did have a
love that.
pretty cool jacket though.
Yeah, did a pretty sweet lucky jacket also. Now obviously you didn't see this movie in theaters. This was another Dave and me movie. So we're really seeing that while I'm getting to go to the movies with my friends now, we're really still seeing the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like we're not getting dropped off for top dollar here. We're going for January classics like Just Married and Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah, these are the movies that just nobody's gonna take you to see. Like you're like, hey, can I go see Kangaroo Jack? And they're like, yeah, you know what? See if you have a friend that wants to go.
Like I'm finally old enough to the point where Big Rob can be like, I don't have to suffer through these anymore. Like, fuck you, go see it by yourself.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll drop you off and I don't want to see you for 89 minutes because I'm not sitting through this. I remember zero about this movie other than the kangaroo raps at one point. And like
Yeah,
that
which
was
I remember being it was kind of a thing back then, right? Where the trailer kind of made it seem like the kangaroo can talk,
yeah, the
and then
trailer
in the actual
very
movie,
misleading.
it's just a kangaroo. Like
Yeah,
it's not like there's
very
like one scene where
misleading.
they hallucinate, but the kangaroo can't actually talk at all.
It's it's out of control. It's so funny that they convinced so many families probably to take their kids to this movie, and we're probably like halfway through, like, what the fuck are we watching right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is not for my children. And it shows that audiences caught on pretty quickly, Jim, because this is a whirlwind of a box office run. So let's
Yeah,
cue
I
up our
was gonna say,
boys.
let's see how many people actually took their families to
This
go see it.
How many people fell for the trailer? Let's dive into some numbers.
Numbers, dates, and numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right, so Kangaroo Jack opens January 17th through the 19th of
Is,
2003. So we've
is
crossed over into 2003.
we're into is that a that's a holiday weekend right there, isn't it? Isn't that a little Martin Luther King weekend?
Yeah, yeah, MLK weekend. Yep, I think the 20th is Martin Luther King Day.
Do you think that movie was what he had in mind when he was talking about all of his dreams?
Yeah, must be, right? What else could he have been talking about?
Had to be
Yeah,
talking about Kangaroo Jack, man.
yeah.
Confirmed.
Um, it does open number one. It does open number
Masterful.
one, but it opens to 16.6 million.
Oh my God. Like January is like one of the funniest months, like when it comes to the box office, because you're winning number one with 16.6.
Yeah, well, and we talked a little bit about this because it was weekend two of Just Married is when Kangaroo Jack opens, right? So
Yeah.
Just Married's still here in third, but National Security comes in second with 14.4 million.
What a whirlwind of time. But that's 16.5, not good enough to beat that previous week of Just Married. Just Married opened up to 17.5. So Kangaroo Jack's going to slide in just behind Just Married.
Yeah, wow. I mean, just behind. So wait, so neither of those are in last though, right? What's the worst thing
No,
we've
no,
had
we've
so
got
far opening weekend
there.
wise?
We the worst weekend is still Hey Arnold the movie with 5.7, and I don't see
Oh yeah, that's gonna
anything.
be tough to beat.
Yeah, like that one's gonna be a tough one to beat.
The only other movie in the top 10 that opens this week is A Guy Thing. Never heard of it.
Never heard of that either.
Weekend two, Kangaroo Jack's gonna drop out of first, so there's no
Ooh,
run in first place.
what a shame.
Only a 30.3% drop with brings it to 11.5 million for the second weekend.
It is that's odd. That's how
Oh,
did people
and by
not
the way, I always forget to do this. I forgot to say the budget of Kangaroo Jack,
okay.
which we would be. I maybe wouldn't have gone back, except for I feel like we need to talk about this. Kangaroo Jack opened to that 16.6 million against a $60 million budget.
Oh yeah, yeah, that sounds
Which,
about right.
what on earth were they thinking? Giving somebody $60 million to make this fucking movie.
Well, like the majority of that had to go towards animating this fucking kangaroo, right?
I guess I don't know. I like whatever you were doing. It was a bad idea. Just hand draw him for Christ's sakes.
I
He's
mean,
in it
they
for
yeah,
7 minutes. Just do that on the cheap.
yeah, I don't know
I mean,
what they were doing.
that's also like I think you maybe got to the bottom of why he's only in the movie for 7 minutes. By the way,
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, if he's littered throughout this movie, that's like $100 million budget right there.
yeah, and somehow it already cost them 60, which I just like. I don't know who on earth thinks they're making their money back on this fucking movie at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no
Especially with
way.
a yeah, especially with a January opening, like in 2003, like they just sent that thing out to die.
Yeah, and I mean after 2 weeks, they've barely made back half of that. Like it's not going well. So it comes in second in the second week. Darkness Falls comes in first place with
Ooh,
12 million.
it was a horror movie.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it makes sense. It's probably just like a crappy horror movie. Yeah, that's January for you.
Oh
And
yeah.
then this, we've talked about this across a few different episodes. We're still in that weird, like, Chicago slow rollout. So Chicago is in third place.
It's just quiet dominance over the winter.
Yeah, right, right. It feels like it's been hanging around for the last, like, 4 episodes we've done. Weekend 3. I'm interested to see if you've seen this movie, and I'm pretty sure it's the movie I think it is. Um, in first place, 16.3 million, The Recruit.
Is that the 2003? Is that the Colin Farrell, Al Pacino movie?
Yep, the
Yeah.
CIA movie. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I thought
Yep.
that's what it was. From Walt Disney Pictures, by the way.
Wow. Man,
Right?
what an
What are
era.
the odds? I mean, talk about your prototypical January movie. You started out thinking you were making something good. You got Colin Farrell and Al Pacino in it. Things are looking up, and then all of a sudden you make this movie. It's
Everything's looking good. And then as soon as you get into that post-production editing room, you're like, oh no,
yeah.
I've made a
Now
huge mistake.
coming in second, the top three all opens this week, and it all beats out Kangaroo Jack's
Ooh,
third week. Right. So
big
we went over
weekend.
the Recruit. Coming in second, what I would call an absolute horror classic, Final Destination 2 pulls in
Hmm.
$16.2 million.
Hell yeah. Wow, that only did 16?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
this is probably though like this might be an interesting one to just go take a quick peek because I would bet you a lot of money they didn't spend $60 million
Well,
making
no,
Final
absolutely
Destination
not.
2.
If
You know
they
what I
spent
mean? Like,
more than if Final Destination 2 spent more than 25 million, I would be shocked.
there's no budget here on Box Office Mojo, so
Of course. Hold on. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Someone's
it
got
is
it.
an all-time classic horror movie in my opinion, though. Like
Yeah, no, that
that's
one's
one of the
really
better
good.
opening scenes
Oh,
of
all right.
the
All right.
freeway
So
crash.
I was close. Budget 26 million.
Yeah, right. So they've already almost made their money back. That's why that's the kind of movie I understand they make 16 million and they're probably happy with it because they weren't dumb enough to spend $60 million on it like they did with Kangaroo Jack. And then all right, third place that week. I am interested to see if you've ever seen this movie. It may honestly become my flick you missed. There's a small chance.
Oh, coming to
Uh,
take the crowd from Chicago.
Potentially coming in third place with 10.1 million opening Biker Boys.
Oh boy. That's a movie right there.
You've seen Biker Boys, right?
Yeah, yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, same. Also a long time ago.
Wow. Man, dude, the
Uh
early 2000s, what a ride.
yeah, and then Kangaroo Jack hanging here in fourth with a 21.6% drop down to 9 million.
I mean, like, it's weird when you're like, these drops aren't terrible, but then you remember it only opened up to 16. So it's like, how, like, unless it's going to like catastrophically dip out, like, it's not going to have the huge
Right.
drops that you'd normally see from like a good movie.
Yeah, if right, it's not there's not enough room for it to fall. Like when you see a movie open to like 80 million, it's real easy for them to drop like 50%. But so like yeah, the drops look nice, but you only started at 16 million, so you're already in fourth place. You're losing to movies like The Recruit and Biker Boys. It's not
Yeah,
going
not
well, you know?
not going well at all.
Not going well at all. So weekend going into weekend 4, Kangaroo Jack drops down to 7th place.
Oh,
Another like we were just talking about, 32.5% drop. It pulls in, but it's only pulling in 6.1 million and it's already in 7th place.
it's holding on by a thread.
Yeah, there's some other great openings here. I'm really thinking that if there is a movie that's next in this box office thing, it's going to be this week.
This weekend. All right, let's hear what we got. Let's see
In
if you can
second
guess it.
place this week was Shanghai Nights with 19.6 million.
Oh, another classic.
Is that not on the list? Okay.
I will say that it is not our next movie.
Okay. And then it may be this. I don't know if this is one you would have seen in theaters though. Uh, Coming in first with 23.7 million. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Oh, Jim, get ready to
Is
dive back
that
into the
you saw that
rom-coms,
movie
baby.
in
Oh
theaters?
yeah, dude.
Oh
That was
boy.
the first date movie I ever went on. So we will be doing How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days next week.
I thought The Perfect Storm was your first date movie.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know if we could really count that one.
We
If your mom
can.
takes you to it, I don't know how high up on the list I could really call that one a date one.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so then let's just ride Kangaroo Jack out of the top 10, right? Weekend 5,
It's
it
out.
comes in ninth with
Oh,
3.9 million.
wow, makes it 5.
Uh, weekend weekend 8 wait, hold on. Weekend Oh no, never mind. Hold on. This
I was gonna
is
say, get
that
out
that
of here.
weekend is President's Day weekend, so there's like a holiday total here as well.
Okay.
With the holiday, it came in 8th that weekend, so just saying, maybe not as
Oh,
bad as we thought. And then, not surprisingly, by weekend 6, it's in 13th place with
wow.
one. Let's just call it 2 million. It's like just a bit
What
shy
a
of 2
shame.
million.
Although 5 weeks better than I gave it credit for. I thought this one would crater right out of the top 10. 5 weeks good enough to add it with the other 5 week boys with Pokemon the first movie, the Rugrats movie, Scary Movie, Jurassic Park 3, X-Men, and Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
Yeah, quite an extensive list right there.
And now this is interesting when you look at the totals. Okay, so we said this was against the $60 million budget.
Okay.
Domestic, it finishes with 67 million, so it barely makes its money back domestic. Not great, right?
Jesus, yeah, not great.
But it's not like it's not a total flop, I guess. And then international, it pulls in 22 million. So worldwide, it pulls in 89 million. And then this is the kind of movie like maybe you're not expecting to sell a ton of DVDs for it, but you're definitely like there's definitely enough people who are stupid enough that they're buying the Kangaroo Jack DVD. I mean, I'm just saying you were reading off one at the beginning of this
I
episode.
do have one. I will say though, I found my copy at a thrift store and got it for 99 cents. So
Yeah. But so, I mean, like, this movie is definitely a failure, but it's
yeah,
the kind of failure that I feel like illustrates why you could make movies like this in 2003. Because even when it's a failure, they're probably not like losing their shirt. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like it's enough of one that they probably made at least some money back in DVD sales. And then if they sold the like syndication rights to any like TV station or anything like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I mean, you can still rent it today.
yeah,
So it's probably still getting some rentals here and there, I guess. I don't
my
know.
yeah. But again, wow, back-to-back weeks here. So we got Kangaroo Jack's 89 million is good enough to put it in the 32 spot, just behind last week's movie, Just Married Again, which pulled in 101 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so wow. Look at those January classics, baby, just running neck and neck right there.
Yeah, yeah, just an absolute wasteland.
Wasteland of nonsense. And it definitely lived up to that bomb, Jim. Sitting on Rotten Tomatoes right now with a whopping 9%.
Is that the audience score?
No, I don't look at the audience score. I always just look
You
at what
gotta
the
check the audience score
oh
because
my
I
God.
would be so interested to see.
All right, from now on, I'll pull both. I'll pull the critics and the audience.
Imagine it was like 9% critics and like 98% audience. Everyone just loves Kangaroo Jack.
Imagine. Well, now you've tickled my my ivories here, Jim, and now I've got to know. So hold on 1 second, because we're gonna get the answer to that question right now. Ooh, just on the outside, Jim. So 9% critics, 29% Rotten Tomatoes, 29% audience score, and that's with 50,000 plus ratings.
That's still so high. That's that's
Just the
still
fact
so high. It's
that there's
insane.
more than 50,000 people out there that decided to review Kangaroo Jack on Rotten Tomatoes. It's astounding to me.
Yeah. And they gave it a 29%. That's insane. That's so high.
That's insane. That means there were some people in there, man. They were throwing fives at it.
I
You know,
think I
you
think
know there was
next
someone in there that threw a five at it.
so next time you have to write the log line for the movie, like we were talking like the other day.
Oh God.
But then we also have to pick out some good Rotten Tomatoes reviews for the movie.
Yeah, that's not bad. See what some people were talking about for it. Oh, too funny. Low IMDb score also, 4.5. I'm about ready to throw the cinema score out the window here.
What did it get?
Cinema score is an A minus.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I can take any credibility from cinema score anymore at this point.
I mean, it's another thing though, where once this movie had your ticket, what could it possibly do to upset you? You know what I mean? Like what?
I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised because I would think that there would be families that took their kids to this based off the trailer and then were really upset when they realized like this movie is not really a kids movie. Like,
Yeah, I mean, kinda, but it's a kids movie to me in the sense that a little kid would laugh the most at this. Like out of any audience that this would be trying to make laugh, that's the only one I can think of that actually seems to fit. You know what I mean? Like little kids would probably think some of this stuff is so stupid.
that's because they dumbed it down to like its common denominator. So we mentioned before, Jim, you brought it up. How did Jerry Bruckheimer end up getting his name attached to this?
Yeah.
And so when I was doing some research into this movie, that apparently this movie was initially called Down and Under and was shot as a mob comedy in the style of Midnight Run. And
Okay.
so, it was basically shooting for like an R rating. So there was a lot of cursing, there was a lot of sex, there was a lot of violence. But apparently, the first cut of it, the rough cut, was so bad that they didn't know. They were like, "What are we gonna do with this?" But apparently, the only thing that tested good in the test screenings was the kangaroo. So the production decided to shift away from the dark mafia comedy and strip it down to a family-friendly animal picture. So then another reason why this thing ballooned up to this was probably an easy budget, but then they did extensive new footage to replace the animatronic kangaroo that they had with a CGI one that rapped so that they could get a PG rating.
Oh my God. That is a wild story. So it did start as more of a Jerry Bruckheimer kind of movie, but it was
Yeah.
just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just terrible. And it's so funny to like when I was reading that, I cried laughing. And when once I saw that it was like they saw that the test screenings, they're like the kangaroo tested through the roof. Like we get
Yeah,
extensive like
that actually makes this all make a lot more sense. Like all like these desperate executives are just watching the movie and seeing all like the test audiences rip it to shreds. They're like, how do we salvage this? Well, the kangaroo looks great. I mean, they love the kangaroo.
they're like the kangaroo, they'll love which makes me wonder is like how much of the kangaroo was there in the original cut. because there's only 7.5 minutes in this movie of a kangaroo.
Yeah. I mean, I would bet you there was one scene probably where the kangaroo like punched him or something, and
Uh,
that was it.
the kangaroo drop
That would
kicks
be
him and
my
takes off with the
guess.
money. And they were like, dude, test it through the roof, that scene. We need more kangaroo.
The kangaroo.
So absolutely insane right there. And it does explain the entirety of this movie. Because
Yeah.
while I'm watching this movie, every time anything happened, I'm like, how is this a movie for children? I'm
Well, all
like,
right, hold on. You keep asking me that question, and there's a very obvious answer as to what makes this a kids' movie, and it's because it very prominently features the Lil Romeo version of It Takes Two, which
oh my God.
that's in the early 2000s that
That was,
immediately made
yeah,
it a kids thing. That was
that
on like
song, yeah,
Nickelodeon all the time.
that song was everywhere. That, yeah, that is. And also, like, you could tell that their way to inject more family friendly humor into this was like they were like, all right, so we got this mob stuff. How do we inject more family friendly stuff in it? I got it. Farting camels. They're like, fucking genius,
Yeah.
Tim. Like get a scene right now. We need farting
Studio
camels.
studio executives love farting animals. It's their
Dude,
favorite thing.
nothing is funnier than farting
You know what
animals,
else does
man.
good with test audiences? Farting camels, definitely.
They're like, and then we have a great scene where like one of the camels really lets loose, and Jerry O'Connell's like, "My God, what's with that camel?" And then Anthony Anderson's like, "No, that one was actually me." Because you know what's even funnier than farting camels? Humans farting worse than camels.
Yeah. So bad. So bad.
Yeah, like this movie is insane. Like I want like watching this movie, I'm like, this is like the silliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so insane. And I also died the second that Michael Shannon walks in onto the
Yeah,
screen.
I couldn't believe it. My jaw like hit the
Uh,
floor.
That
I was
that was the person I was talking about last week when I was saying that there's going to be an actor in this movie that's going to blow your fucking mind, and it was Michael Shannon as like one of the henchmen.
Yeah, and I love going back and finding gems like that where like he wasn't really famous at this point,
Oh,
right?
this
Like
was
there
like
would
one
have
of
been
his
no reason for you to recognize Michael Shannon in a
yeah.
movie.
I think this is just like when he's like cutting his teeth, like he's just taking whatever job he can get to make a name for himself. And so like you get this glorious moment where you're like, oh shit, that's Michael Shannon. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like you're just watching tough guy Michael Shannon in Kangaroo Jack.
Jack.
And then
So
another
bad.
one that I had totally forgotten about was Martin Chakas, the Australian bad guy, Mr. Smith. He was in like Kingdom of Heaven. He was in what was that? Oh, he was in another movie that we loved back when we were in high school that I can't think of right now. But he was another one when he popped up. I was like, dude, no fucking way. I'm like, is that Martin Chakas? Like that's this. I was like, I can't take this movie anymore.
Yeah, I mean, really all-star cast. It's
Yeah.
got so many good people in it. And
Christopher
somehow
Walken sleepwalking his way through a paycheck.
yeah. Yeah. Well, this was like I wonder it's just another it's so interesting that it was supposed to be a totally different genre at first cuz this was like the prototypical Christopher Walken movie in the early 2000s. He just phoned it in and would always play like the mob boss in like some quirky R-rated comedy.
And like this being a more violent like type of movie explains why you have people like Michael Shannon and Martin Chakas and Christopher Walken showing up in it. Because it's like it feels so weird watching this movie and seeing them in it. Because it's like yeah, even if he was cutting his teeth, like it's still weird that you'd take this role out of anything. And then it was like, oh no, because this was supposed to be a completely different movie that got completely changed post production.
Yeah, like it sounds like they basically just went back and refilmed some of the scenes with like how they lost the money and like
Yeah.
and added some stuff with them chasing the kangaroo.
Which has got to be so crazy. Like if like you get this role, you're like, this is a big huge break for me. I'm going to be in this like really cool like Midnight Run style like action comedy movie, and then like you're just waiting to hear like when the movie's finally coming out, you're gonna go like opening night, and then you're just like, oh yeah, we retooled. What do you mean you retooled? We ditched the whole heavy drug stuff. Like now, farting camels, talking kangaroo.
Yeah.
You're
And
like,
now
oh
give me
dear.
that little Romeo song.
And you're like, oh dear God. Also, whoever's idea it was to put Snoop Dogg's "Smoke Weed Every Day" as like the theme song whenever Kangaroo Jack shows up, it like give that guy a medal because that
Yeah,
was glorious.
yeah. It's so interesting you keep saying Midnight Run because there are so many like there's scenes early on that really do remind me of Midnight Run. It's in that same kind of like slapsticky kind of area.
Yeah,
And like really the plane scene when they're in the plane with the drunk as the pilot, that feels like it could be straight out of Midnight Run. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's fun. It definitely feels like somebody just saw Midnight Run and they were like, I want to do that, and then a test audience of Kangaroo fans totally ruined his dream.
Yeah, it's a kangaroo fans. They're and then I wonder, like, did any of it must have taken place in Australia to begin with, right?
Yeah,
So
it
like, I
had to
wonder
be.
how much of it have made. Like, I wonder if it was just like people were like, "Man, you know what? This movie's in Australia and there was no kangaroos." like, just like 10,000 people said that exact sentence, so they're like,
That's
"What do we do? We got to get kangaroos in
like
there."
we got to get a kangaroo in this. Because yeah, because like watching this, I don't know where the old movie and the new movie blend. Because like you're watching it, and you're like, what was new that was shot, and what was still like behind? Because like the general basis had to still be the same. Like the money gets put in the jacket, gets put in the kangaroo, gets lost. They have to try and find.
I see. I don't know. Does it need to be the same?
I don't know. I feel like it. I guess like it would depend without knowing how much new footage they shot. It's impossible to know,
Yeah, I mean, I
right?
get what you're saying. Maybe that's what they mean when they say that the kangaroo tested well, is because like it's the same premise. It was left in the jacket and he ran off with it still.
Then the rest of the movie is like them trying to find it, but they don't really have like to me, what seems like they reshot is that hallucination is definitely was definitely new
Yeah,
when
yeah,
the kangaroo talks. Absolutely. Because like I feel like all that stuff of them trying to capture the kangaroo still had to be there, right?
yeah. I guess. I mean, that those would be pretty long reshoots.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I
Like
guess
if it wasn't like that before, the whole wilderness lady would have had to be totally different. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
Like
what I'm
so, like
saying.
it's there's so much they would have had to change. So I guess you're probably right, but who really knows?
Like most of that has like there's only one portion of this movie that I am absolutely sure was still from the old footage when this was supposed to be R-rated because there's
Okay.
moments in this movie where I'm like, did they just forget that this was a kids movie? Because when they arrest Michael Shannon at the end, and for zero reason whatsoever, he just goes, "You two pansy ass retards are dead." I was like, "Whoa, like what the fuck? Like, did he just say that?"
Yeah, I mean,
I
he
was like,
did say that.
I'm like, this whole movie, they managed to just dial everything down, and then he busts that out with like 5 minutes left to go in the movie. I'm like, I think they forgot what they were doing because that's the
Yeah, I
most
mean, I guess
insane thing I've
so.
ever heard. And then
Really,
not,
you only need him to get caught too. Like he doesn't need to have that line.
yeah, he didn't need to have that line at all. Like that's insane. And then not 5 minutes later, the two of them are hugging. And she and the wilderness girl goes, guys, and Anthony Anderson just for whatever reason goes, we're having a very intimate non-gay moment. It's like, why'd you have to put it like
That's
that?
not that bad though.
It's not nearly as bad as Michael Shannon's line, but it's like
Yeah,
it's
no, that's
it's moments like that where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a 2003 movie.
yeah, yeah.
It
I
did, yeah.
also I hated how at the end it was like we invented like a great strawberry
Yeah,
shampoo.
that's
like
another one. Like it just comes out of nowhere that it was like, so wait, it was the message of this movie like your get rich scheme? Like suddenly they were like, I'm a rich tycoon. It's like, what?
Yeah, well, and there was just one throwaway line about the berry in the beginning, like how it was like people would love to pay to
Yeah,
smell like that or
I like
something
it smelled
weird.
great. Hey, that had a great payoff. All right. They were smelling it so that they wouldn't smell the camel farts.
Yeah. Yeah, God, I hated this movie. And also, like, it opened up with, like, the voiceover, but it was maybe the best example of why your movie shouldn't have voiceover. It was just done, like, in the worst way possible.
Yeah, it's It's
Like
that
he's
whole
like,
opening is just
"That's
like,
Lewis.
yeah.
Lewis is my friend."
Also, because
It's
it's like
so bad.
I think the thing I hate the most about voiceovers too is the one when it's like it doesn't have anything to do within the movie. It's literally the voiceover to the audience. Like I hate those. Like usually when it's one where it's like it's a voiceover, but then by the end of the movie it links up to like an actual scene where our character has been telling this story to another character. I still don't like it, but it's less offensive than in this one when it's literally just like it's like by the end he's on the boat with them and he's still talking about how he's this rich tycoon now and everything and they've got this big business and it's like why like and you're just telling this to us like why like I don't fucking care.
Yeah, like if your movie, and this is too deep of a critique for Kangaroo Jack, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If your movie has voiceover, it needs to be like a pretty central part of how the movie works. You know what I mean? And like you said, it has to like it can pay off like in the sense that it ends up being a real scene that's happening somewhere, but it doesn't necessarily have to for it to be good. Because I don't know that that happens in Goodfellas, right? It's just him talking to the audience.
um I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I always thought thinking of it now, I feel like he was taught wasn't he talking to the cops, but I could be completely wrong about that.
I don't think so, because he's still doing it. He's still doing his voiceover when
Afterwards
they do like when he's like picking up the paper when he's in witness protection.
when he's in witness protection. Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's
But
possible
like,
he
so
but I
either
mean,
way, like
yeah,
there's ways to do it good is the point,
exactly. Yeah.
whether it like pays off with a real scene or not. But like this movie, the reason it's the worst example of it is because they're like, all right, so we don't want to waste a lot of time, so let's just explain to everybody what's going on and who everybody is. Like, and then it just disappears for the rest of the movie until the very end. And when they're like, all right, so a lot's changed and it had nothing to do with what was going on, so let's just tell everybody what happened. You know
Yeah,
what
they're
I mean?
literally
Like,
just intros and outros to just bookend the movie. And that's where it's like it's lazy. It's a way
yeah,
so they don't have to
it's
do
just
anything
stupid. It
else.
makes me roll my eyes and groan, and I hate it.
Yeah. Because I feel like I mean, I don't know if that ending is a reshoot or not. I feel like this movie might be dumb enough to have just done it.
No, I mean like it has nothing to do with the kangaroo, so I have a feeling it was there already.
It's
Because
there already.
otherwise, why would they reshoot it?
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just weird because it's just like at no point during the movie was like the theme of the movie was like him trying to make money or become like a rich tycoon or anything. Like it just happens. If you're going to give an olive branch to this movie about anything, the theme of it is just the friendship between the two of them and realizing that one or the other saving each other's lives wasn't what defined their friendship.
Yeah, right. But the point is, the movie's a fucking mess, dude. That's why
Yeah.
it sucks. Like
Because like the
it
only
doesn't sink its teeth into any one
in,
thing
in
too
anything, yeah.
much.
Because the only moment you get of anything in this movie that would hint that he is upset with not making money is that he has to pay the mob boss
Yep,
like every
right.
week.
He says like in the beginning, like, "Oh man, I can
Yeah, can
barely
I
get
keep
by with as much as they're taking from me."
yeah. But at no point does that like set up like his need to become a rich like tycoon by the end of this movie. It has this huge beauty like conglomerate.
Yeah, I mean, like they. It certainly doesn't seem like Christopher Walken's holding him back in the beginning. You know
What I'm
what I'm
saying.
saying? Which is kind of how they try and make it seem. That's how it feels like it ought to have been with the way it ends when they're like, "Yeah, Christopher Walken was in prison and now I'm rich." Like it should have been more like
Chris Walken
I
was like
guess like
keeping
he
him
was holding
down.
him back. I don't know.
I don't know.
But like
Although that
we're so deep in the weeds on
I know,
fucking
yeah.
Kangaroo Jack
Yeah.
at this point. It's like who really cares? You
We're
know?
trying we're trying to give our olive branches where we can here, Jim. Trying to help them get back to that somewhat midnight run style movie.
Yeah. By
I
the way,
would
do
like
you
to
like
visit the
Midnight
alternate.
Run?
Do I'm not the biggest fan of Midnight Run. No,
I don't love it.
I don't hate it, but I'm not like a huge fan of it.
People really swear by that movie. It's got like there's a lot of people who really like Midnight Run.
Well, yeah. Well, the people who went and saw Kangaroo Jack were not one of them.
Yeah. The very few people.
I will say the one scene where Christopher Walken is like actually somewhat in when he's given Jerry O'Connell the rundown and he's like, when you didn't want to take my last name, he's like, I didn't say anything about it. Teach their own. And then he's like, and when you wanted to go to school to be a hairdresser, I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, not much of a man, but who am I? Like, it's like, dude, what
Yeah.
is he talking about?
Well,
Like, his
that's the
backhanded
thing though.
compliments are so out of control in this.
Like Christopher Walken, like really wasn't so bad to him in the beginning. Like he did give him his own hair salon and stuff, you know. Like,
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he just takes a little bit off the take each week. Like, come on. Yeah, but what a fucking bumblefuck of a movie that just jumps from one random thing to another and is just absolutely all over the place.
yeah, it does have its moments though. I really do like a lot of the like slapsticky kind of stuff. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, there were spots that I did laugh at and did find like funny. The old Australian geezer like flies the plane. Like that guy made me chuckle a bunch.
yeah, yeah, he was good. And like Anthony Anderson, I just like Anthony Anderson, so he makes it like way more palatable.
Yeah, well,
I
he
don't
actually
really like Jerry O'Connell, but I
yeah.
do like
Well, Anthony
Anthony
Anderson
Anderson.
gets to have some like energy in it. Like for Jerry O'Connell, it's basically just like play the good-looking like straight guy, and like that's what he has to do. Like I absolutely hated that scene that comes out of nowhere where they're like both in the water, and he's just like, and he like all of a sudden turns into like this machismo guy that wasn't there the entire movie. Where he's like, she's like, I'm not into you, and he's like, oh yeah, and they're like slowly getting closer and closer to each other. Like that wasn't even a kiss. He's like, oh yeah, well if I kiss, it's like, dude, you were not like this the entire movie up to this point. Like what is happening?
Yeah, he's he's like a total idiot the whole movie, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to believe he's so smooth, and she's
It's
like totally into him, and it's like I don't know if that's how it would have went down.
it's so absurd. God, I hated that movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't.
I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also pretty much hated
yeah.
it. So,
I don't really know. I think we went about as deep into the weeds as we might have gone further into the weeds than necessary for
way
Kangaroo
further
Jack
than it
here.
deserves. Yes.
That is for sure. And now we've got a plethora of people to choose from. So I'm very interested to see who you're diving into now for this week's IMDb deep dive.
All right, so we're gonna do David McNally, however you want to say his name.
Oh, we're going for the director.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We might have to dip a little deeper into some other places too, because
Okay.
I am gonna start off David McNally with a this or that.
Okay.
Are you gonna take Kangaroo Jack or Coyote Ugly?
Oh, dude, come on. Even is that even a question? Coyote Ugly, obviously.
Yeah, Coyote Ugly. And those
Easy
are
layup.
the only two movies that he's directed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, makes Coyote Ugly. They give him a shot at the title. Kangaroo Jack, they're like, to give us that back.
So in 2000, big year, he directed Coyote Ugly and then a Leanne Rimes music video, Can't Fight the Moonlight.
Okay, all right. Yeah, dude. He was on
Yeah,
the up and up, bro.
big year. Leanne Rimes was a big deal back in
Yeah.
2000. I remember that song, I think. And then this is really like 2003, he directs Kangaroo Jack, and then they don't let him direct movies anymore after that.
We're like, you know what? I think we're gonna call it here.
Yeah, he has like he directs 3 episodes of a show called Justice, which I've never heard of.
Okay.
TV show. He directs 1 episode of a show called Beauty and the Beast in 2015,
Hmm.
and he directs a TV movie in 2008 called The Apostles. And those are all of his credits after Kangaroo Jack.
Jeez. That's yeah, not great.
Not great at all.
Nope.
So moving on, 'cause David McNally, I just thought it was interesting. This is the first one where I really feel like we did a movie, and that was like the last time a guy really like
Yeah.
worked in movies.
Yeah, where they were just like, you're done.
Yeah, and then so
It's
I'm
just such
kind
a
of
shame because
hoping.
it's like that's not that dude's fault that that movie bombed.
I would say it's definitely possible that he had something to do with it. It's hard
Wait,
to say.
I won't say that he's like completely innocent. Like obviously as a director of the movie, you always have some form of ownership there. But like it seems like this movie just got butchered through poor test audiences and then producers coming in to absolutely decimate whatever this movie could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would say is um if like the movie that they had envisioned when they like attached Christopher Walken to it and like greenlit a screenplay and all that was probably a lot better than the one that he made before they like went in and turned it into a movie about kangaroos. So like
We need we need to see that original cut.
yeah, like I'm sure whatever they were hoping for isn't what he gave them. Is
We
I
go
guess what I would say.
we gotta hunt Jerry Bruckheimer down and get that original cut.
Yeah, for real.
We watch it, the movie ends, and we're like, they were right, needed more kangaroos.
Yeah, and it's such a shame too. Coyote Ugly is such a strong debut, man.
Yeah,
It's
top
just
notch.
upsetting that it went south from there. But then, all right, I want to do somebody else because we just had one fairly easy this or that for the director.
Okay.
And I am hoping that this person isn't going to come up more. So I'm going to pick them this time. Jerry O'Connell.
Oh, all right. Yeah, Jim, I don't think there's many Jerry O'Connell movies out there that we were seeing in the mid 2000s.
No, I mean, he's basically done by then. But he does start off really hot, right? 1986, he's in Stand By Me.
Absolutely huge movie.
Total classic. He does some TV work for a little while. 1998, he's credited as Kid at Beach, uncredited, in Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach.
Oh my God. It's insane how many police academies we got.
Yeah, it's like that, and there's still like more, like Mission to Moscow, I think, is after that one.
Yeah.
City Under Siege is number 6.
Oh my God.
Um, TV wise, Jerry O'Connell's on an episode of Charles in Charge in 1989. So he's kind of like a kid actor, and then I'm trying to see when
Boy,
his
yeah.
first like teen actor role would be. So do you recognize the movie Calendar Girl?
No, never heard of it.
I've never heard of that either. Then he's got a couple of TV movies here. Okay, this is the first movie I can say where he's probably like playing an adult, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember 1996's Joe's Apartment?
Is that the one with like the bugs?
Yeah, like the talking roaches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe's
Yeah.
Apartment.
Oh, dude, I forgot about that movie. God, dude, this guy loved talking animal movies.
Joe's Apartment is a really good example of the movie he's gonna make basically for the rest of his life. um, like at least from what I remember, Jerry O'Connell was always in kind of that like potty mouth, like early 20s, mid 20s comedy range, right?
Yeah.
Which makes this one maybe surprising or not surprising. I'm not sure. 1996, he's credited as Frank Cushman in Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah, isn't he like one of the other athletes that like Jerry's trying Jerry? Yeah, that Jerry Maguire's trying to sign.
I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire in so long.
Yeah, I think he's like his star client. But then when
Oh, that makes
Maguire
sense.
gets
Yeah.
like busted out, only Cuba Gooding Jr. goes with him, and I think Bushman is like the one that they keep and like send to the top.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously Jerry Maguire is better than this movie, right? Kangaroo Jack.
Ooh, I don't know.
Um,
Not a lot of kangaroos in Jerry Maguire, Jim. This is
yeah,
definitely a
seriously.
glaring issue.
It's like I wonder, do you think that that's just a universal thing? Like, if you put a kangaroo in any movie, do you think it would score well with test audiences?
It's possible.
Like,
All
people
all I'll
just
say
kind of
now
being
is that
kangaroos.
if I'm ever in the situation again where I leave a theater and there's somebody giving out the cards to write, I'm going to be writing in like not enough kangaroos every time.
Yeah, seriously. It's like it was pretty good, but it could have used like at least 3 kangaroos. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Like the kangaroo count very low for this type of movie.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. 1997. Do you take this is an interesting this or that. Do you take Kangaroo Jack or 1997's Scream 2?
Well, easy Scream 2. Although
Yeah,
Scream 2
Scream 2 is
again,
great.
kangaroo light, very not nearly one kangaroo.
Yeah, not nearly. And that's usually kangaroos usually are on college campuses. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's usually a breeding ground for them.
Big oversight. Not, all right, this is maybe my favorite teen comedy of all time,
Oh, okay.
and I think it's another easy one, but let's play the game anyway. Do you
Let's see.
take Kangaroo Jack or 1998's Can't Hardly Wait?
Oh, dude, can't hardly wait for
Yeah,
more
yeah.
kangaroos.
Can't Hardly Wait. Can't Hardly Wait is maybe the best teen comedy
Yeah,
movie ever. Seth Green at his peak, I would say.
it's a classic right there.
Do you remember the TV show Sliders?
Yes.
Jerry O'Connell was, I believe, the lead on Sliders.
Yeah, I do remember that show. That was a fucking that was a show.
Just awesome 90s, definitely a 90s TV show, like not serialized like you see TV start to be, but it's just kind of like
Yeah.
they've slipped through dimensions and this week they're doing this and next week they're doing that.
So it's so insane.
um all right, so now we're getting into, like, it's interesting. This is another movie that I don't necessarily think of Jerry O'Connell when I think of it, but
I
2000's Mission to Mars.
didn't even realize he was in that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because every time I think of Jerry O'Connell, I think of movies like this next one. Do you take Kangaroo Jack
Only
or
imagine.
2001's Tomcats?
Oh my, dude, see, that might honestly be the first tough one we've gotten.
Yeah, because this
There's a lot of-
Tomcats really is the quintessential Jerry O'Connell movie. This is what
Yeah,
I think of when I think of
dude,
him, for
that
sure.
movie is such garbage. Oh my God. I loved that movie as a kid too. Like that's just another classic example of movies that are made for 12-year-old boys.
No, I hated that movie from the jump, dude. Fuck
Really?
that
Well,
movie.
you were a much more mature man than I was, Jim. Because I ate that movie up. Jake Busey losing his nutsack. Oh, got me every time.
Jake Busey.
I honestly, I think I'm gonna take Kangaroo Jack, man. That movie had a kangaroo.
Yeah, I mean, it does
Zero,
beat all these movies that we've said in terms of how many kangaroos they have. Yeah.
yeah, zero kangaroos in Tomcats. So,
Okay, so now we're getting into some interesting ones here. Um, 2002. Do you remember The New Guy?
oh my God, the DJ Qualls movie.
Yeah, the DJ
Yeah.
Qualls movie. Jerry O'Connell has like a real bit like part in it. He's
Oh my
credited as
God,
Highland High Party Twin number 1.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, The New Guy was DJ Qualls, Eddie Griffin.
There's a classic. Eliza Dushku.
Yeah, she was in it.
My God.
All right, 2002. This is another Tomcat-y kind of movie. Do you take Kangaroo Jack or 2002's Buying the Cow?
I've never been happier to say that I have not seen that movie.
Yeah, it's one where like the title is like he's getting married basically.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I could see it. Ryan Reynolds is in that. Wow.
Yeah, no
2002.
way it's any good, right?
What a,
There's just
yeah,
no way.
that man has really strapped himself to the stratosphere. Buying the cow all the way to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. All right, and then Jerry O'Connell's gonna hit a stride that I think was
Oh,
inevitable.
yeah. Now he's hitting a stride. All right.
Yeah, he's hit. No. It's not like it's a stride that I think he could not avoid as an actor, where
Yeah.
he's gonna start doing some TV and animation work.
All right.
So I've got him here with one episode of 2004's Without a Trace.
There we go.
It's a TV show. That's like a procedural.
Yeah, that's a procedural right there. Doing a stint, baby.
2005, he voices Captain Marvel in one episode of Justice League Unlimited.
Oh boy.
uh, but so between 2004 and 2006, he gets 5 episodes on my favorite early 2000s procedural show. Can you guess what my favorite early 2000s procedural show? I've mentioned it on this podcast multiple times.
Veronica Mars.
No.
Not Veronica Mars.
No, I don't think I've mentioned Veronica Mars on the show, but this I've talked about this one a couple of times.
I was like heavily convinced it was going to be that. Fuck. All right, hold on. I gotta think again. What do you bring up all the time? Oh, the fucking The Josh Duhamel show.
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah, yeah.
Las Vegas. Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah.
Las Vegas.
He's on 5 episodes of Las Vegas across 3 seasons. I don't remember who he. Oh, he plays a detective, so I guess he's in some of like the running whatever's.
Oh boy.
He gets a starring role as the same detective. Whoa, hold on, hold
Oh boy.
on.
Uh-oh.
We have entered what I believe is television crossover
Oh man.
crossover area here.
Here we go.
So he is credited for 5 episodes of Las Vegas as Detective Woody Hoyt,
Okay.
the same character where he gets 88 episodes playing Detective Woody Hoyt on the TV show Crossing Jordan.
Oh boy.
So there was definitely some kind of Las Vegas Crossing
Yeah, so
Jordan
we
crossover.
got a crossover, baby.
Yeah, right. Insane.
I mean, it
He's
looks like
also
he's taken his
in-
ball to TV and has just like made himself a little career there.
Yeah. He's got one episode here of Ugly Betty. This is not a bad TV credit.
Yeah.
He's the voice of Nightwing on the Batman animated series in 2007.
That's not bad. If you can get yourself on one of those voiceover shows, man, you're set. You're gonna be set.
Yeah, I mean the Batman is like one that did not run for very long. So I don't know that he got a lot of work out of that.
Theme in his career.
He gets maybe my favorite thing ever. He gets a credit in the show that is famous for making fun of all the TV procedurals. He gets one episode of NTSF SDSUV. Did you ever watch that show?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. I believe that was on Adult Swim back in the day.
Right there. There's a classic.
Yeah, and I mean he's got like a couple of like G.I. Joe animated shows. He does some more DC animated stuff, which is like I'm trying to see. He's in the Veronica Mars movie.
All right, so wasn't totally offbeat calling Veronica Mars.
I'm just looking back for the show. I don't think he was on the show. It looks like he was just in the movie.
They just made him for the movie.
Yeah. And then I mean there's a lot of credits here. Oh, he gets an episode of The League. That's a pretty good TV credit.
There you go.
He's on an episode of The Librarians. That's a USA like magic sci-fi show.
There we go.
One episode of Workaholics.
All right. So, but it looks famously like Kangaroo Jack. They were like, we're not gonna let this man be in movies anymore.
No, I mean I'm skipping over a lot of movies. I've just never heard of any of them.
But that's what I'm saying. Like anything that's coming out, it sounds very much like he's in like direct to DVD schlock or like direct to streaming at this point.
He was in Scary Movie 5.
Come on, Jim. That's not helping your
He
cause.
played Christian Grey in Scary Movie 5.
Of course he did.
And then hold on, there's one more. Oh my god, he was on. Do you remember the TV show Scream Queens?
Yes.
He was on Scream Queens.
Oh my god.
He's got some credits for Curb here.
Wow.
Drunk History, The Big Bang Theory. He's got like he's been on a lot of TV.
Yeah, he's definitely made himself a nice little career for himself in that TV window. And which is like you can make good money and like be set and fine working in TV your whole life.
It's just interesting because he doesn't seem to have like outside of Crossing Jordan, he doesn't seem to have
like his show. Like it seems like he just
right
bops on for like bits and pieces of other shows.
Right, like he's just like probably the guy you get whenever you need somebody to play like an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, he's never really got his own thing to bite into. Oh, dude, he was on an episode of Young and Hungry.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up next. I saw that.
Dude, Young and Hungry, dude, fucking classic right there.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he's still working. He's still got stuff that I believe is being made today. So like Star Trek Lower Decks, he's on TV. He's got 40 episodes.
So yeah, he's still chugging along. Good for you, Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah, and thankfully I didn't see many other movies that you would have seen in theaters. So
yeah, thankfully, because I don't think
they
we never have to go back into another Jerry O'Connell production on this podcast, at least. But all right, Jim, let's put a bow on this bad boy and let's dive into our star ratings.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
Raj, you're right. Any
Right.
film with a kangaroo in it, definitely a great film.
Yeah, I shouldn't have played the drop. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was shocked when you went for it. I was like, oh, you played the drop.
This is a psych out. This is a psych out because I don't really have much else to say. I really kind of hated my whole experience watching this. There was like a few kind of chuckles, but other than that, really bad. I'm gonna give it 1 star.
Ooh, Jim, I will echo those sentiments. I'm also gonna give this movie 1 star. It was definitely a pain to get through. And the few and far spots where you laugh are very far and few. So with a 1 from me and a 1 from you, giving us a good old twofer right there. Which we get to battle it out. Jim, do you take Kangaroo Jack or Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius?
I will take Kangaroo Jack, and I don't think it's very close.
I would also take Kangaroo Jack. Not any kangaroos in Jimmy Neutron, unfortunately. So easy win right there. Easy win. So Kangaroo Jack going to settle in now in the number 37 spot, just behind Eight Crazy Nights, which sits with a 2.5, and just ahead of Jimmy Neutron with a 2. And I can't think of a more deserving spot for you to sit in, Kangaroo Jack. So enjoy your time there at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Takes it's in the top 5 now for our lowest rated movies here. So
I bet you though that'll be an interesting one because I bet you that is ends up being potentially the king of the number twos. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah, like whenever we get 2s, like they're always going to come in below Kangaroo Jack.
yeah, because it's just like it's bad, but it's at least short and it kind of just like knows what it is. You know? Like,
It's very true. So we'll have to see as we go down in the pipe and we get any other 2s if they'll be able to fend off the might that is Kangaroo Jack. No, we're not taking guesses for next week because we know what we're diving into. We're diving into the territory of great rom-coms when we dive into How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So make sure you check back here next week when we dive into that. Let us know down below if you went and saw Kangaroo Jack, what your thoughts are on this absolute classic. If there's any of you out there that were in that test screening, we'd love to hear from you down below. Send us a message. We would love to hear some great thoughts from you on what specifically you needed more out of this kangaroo in this movie. Jim, do you have a recommendation for the people this week?
no, I'm just picturing now like all the people who wrote about the kangaroo were being sarcastic. Like the best part about this movie was the kangaroo. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
And
then
it,
some executive just took that and ran with it. Like, oh man.
it's
No, I
amazing.
haven't really been. I rewatched Aquaman recently.
First one?
Um, yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bummed by Aquaman. Like the first like hour was really cool, but then it was kind of boring for a while, and then the end was really cool. But I don't know. I was like, maybe go back and if you liked Aquaman, watch it with fresh eyes and see what you think.
See if it holds up. I don't think I only watched it the one time in theaters, so I would have to go back and did you watch the second one yet?
No,
The Lost Kingdom?
probably not coming anytime soon.
That's a movie, all right. That is something. Yeah, Jim, maybe take a visit into the Lost Kingdom. You might find a few moments in there that might give you a chuckle.
Yeah, we'll see. I almost watched it after I watched the first one, and then I decided against it.
Amazing. My recommendation is going to be something that we've mentioned quite a few times now here in our epilogues here. People, if you have not gone out and seen the absolute classic that is Twisters,
Oh,
uh,
I haven't seen it yet.
get your ass out there and watch it now.
I have to go see it this week, I think.
It is very good.
Was it
I'd agree.
everything we hoped it would be and more?
Not only is it everything I hoped it would be and more, Jim, but I can't tell you how happy I am to have a line that I love in a trailer hit as good in the actual movie as it does in the trailer. Looking at you in
Nice.
the heart of the sea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you son of a bitch. That line in the trailer, absolutely fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, no,
So
I'm
yeah,
very excited for Twisters.
yeah.
I did hear on NPR because I forgot my phone with me one day. So my radio, the only thing that I know what radio station is NPR. So they were reviewing music on NPR and they were like, it's the longest album since the Dead Poets Society. And it was the Twisters soundtrack.
Oh, lot. It's funny since Heather knows how much I love the first Twister movie. When she was at Target one day and they saw that there was pre-orders for the Twisters soundtrack on vinyl, so she got it. And then this
Whoa.
Twisters, it's all country music,
Yeah.
and I fucking can't stand country music.
It's amazing, dude. You have to send me that vinyl. Is it all like it's just all like pickup truck and
Yeah,
Budweiser
dude, yeah.
can
It's like
country
Luke
music?
Combs, it's like, dude, none of this is gonna do anything for me.
That's so
It's
funny.
so funny. Because we're watching the movie and I'm like, and every time they're like, we're gonna go wrangle a tornado, and immediately the country music comes on. I'm like, oh my god,
Well, yeah, because dude, that's where tornadoes happen, dude, is
no.
where people listen to country music.
It's one of those things where like it fits for the movie, even if I despise country music. But like it is a far cry from the first one where you had it was a Dusty Philip Seymour Hoffman blasting Van Halen as they're like hunting down tornadoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a far cry, but still, despite being littered with country music, this movie, it's an absolute blast. And is one that you should definitely see on the big screen because it is so good in a packed theater.
God, I can't wait to see his rip roaring charisma and her book smarts combined to stop tornadoes forever.
Oh, Jim, you will not be disappointed.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be so good. So Jim and the rest of you, you're all hunting down. Go check out Twisters, absolute classic on the big screen right now. And we will see you all here next week for How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.